The Pica voice reveal is one of the funniest moments in One Piece, and what every mid-puberty boy feared they'd sound like presenting in class. I think this is one of the most brilliantly written scenes in the entire Dressrosa arc, and today I'm here to tell you why. For some reason, a good number of you actually requested I make this video, so now you have to pay the price because I'm diving deep into a 3-minute scene. I'm gonna walk through the scene beat by beat just to praise the comedy on display, but there's also more to this scene than you might think. I think the scene establishes the relationships between the Don Quixote family and the motivations of Doflamingo himself far better than the flashback that comes later. Right off the bat, I want to acknowledge that this scene is fairly different in the manga than in the anime. So for this video, I'm focusing on the anime only, which I think is more conducive to the comedy on display anyway. So how does this scene begin? With some goons running in to tell Dofi information that the audience already knows. Fujitora and Luffy are fighting. Dofi responds with a desire to let them continue. The first 2 beats of this scene are completely pointless, adding nothing to the story being told, which frames the scene as not very important. Oh, but then, while remaining framed on Doflamingo, we hear a voice. A cartoonishly high-pitched squeaker of a voice comes in off-screen, and the goons are stunned. Then, we see that Pica is the one speaking about annihilating their enemies all by himself, and we get a wide shot showing off his massive build to juxtapose his tiny whittle voice. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I cannot think of a better way for this initial reveal to have unfolded. Also, considering the context of the story up to this point, we've only seen Pica in his stone form, and he wouldn't say a word to Zoro as they fought. By letting the reveal play out this way, using the goons as audience stand-ins, the story allows the viewer to connect those dots. It only gets more hilarious from there with the help of some nameless heroes. Goons who just can't resist a good visual gag. The next beat verbalizes exactly what the audience is thinking: complete shock, while putting the situation at hand into context, with the goons stating that they still cannot get used to Pica's high-pitched voice. That lets us know this isn't some weird voice crack, and Pica didn't just huff some sweet, sweet helium. This is what he sounds like at all times. The scene has finally found its focus. From the start, it just felt like it was spinning its wheels, padding out the story by retreading familiar ground. But that was all intentionally bland setup for the voice reveal, which then snowballs into a reoccurring joke every other beat until the climax comes. The stakes of the scene are established with this goon's thoughts as he struggles to keep a straight face in a sea of men trying to do the same. If I burst out laughing, he'll kill me. It's here that Doflamingo goes on a mini monologue, describing his stance on why he doesn't want to take direct action. It seems like the scene is winding down, but then Pica speaks again, and boom, another crack in the dam. One goon struggles to contain his laughter as another one panics, trying to get him to calm down. Pica continues, and instantly, the goon's eyes are nearly bursting out of his head, trying to hold in his laughter. Doflamingo continues. The world outside of these goons remains oblivious to their struggle. The conversation remains tedious, going back and forth on a matter that's already been decided. Then, Pica says 2 more words, and the dam bursts open. First, the surrounding goons react in shock. Then, the heads of the family react in stunned anger. They know what's to come, and it's here that comedy turns to tragedy. I'm not gonna spoon feed you on why this scene is funny. If you're watching this, you likely have your own perspective, and comedy is obviously subjective. I just wanted to start this video off breaking down how perfectly the comedic execution was, because frankly, I was in tears watching this the first time around. I dare say I LMFAO'd, and it's difficult finding pants for people without asses. But now I want to get into the second half of the scene and explore what it tells us about the Don Quixote family. Now, pretend I didn't just spend the last few minutes talking about this scene in excruciating detail. Before all that, what did you remember from this scene? What was the big takeaway? It's the voice, right? How could you not remember that voice coming out of this body? But the actual purpose of the scene isn't just to suddenly tell us, hey, Pica's got a silly voice, stop all the action and listen to how ridiculous it is. No, it's all to foreshadow Pica's upcoming involvement in the action, and the voice is just the cherry on top, full stop. But actually no, that isn't all there is to it. Underneath the comedy and all the Pica threats of destruction, we see a glimpse of a family that genuinely cares for each other. This scene is the first piece of hard evidence demonstrating the bond that binds together this family of villains. The scene continues with the goon apologizing to Pica, begging for his life, while the others try to reason with Pica. This has no impact. He's already made up his mind. He's going to kill this man for insulting him. But interestingly enough, the scene doesn't play out that way. Baby 5 interferes, killing the man herself with her Gatling gun leg to the horror of the other goons. I find the dialogue here to be pretty insightful. Baby 5 tells Pica that she killed the goon because if Pica did it, there wouldn't be anything for the goon's family to bury. Then, Pica thanks her for taking that into consideration and acting how she did. What the hell is going on here? Pica was just gonna murder this fool for laughing at his objectively hilarious voice. Why should he care about a nameless goon's faceless family and how they mourn for him? The atmosphere of the scene has completely soured. No longer is this a lighthearted back and forth following the tribulations of uniformed thugs. Now, they wait in a terrified silence for what the monsters around them will do next. The scene has slowed down. A panning shot of Doflamingo sitting above the rest drags on, building tension until it cuts to a close-up of his hand. A weapon we've seen him brutally attack others with, but here he simply points. He asks one goon if he has a family. The reply is a surprised and concerned yes. Dofi asks another goon the same question, and he gets the same response. From atop his makeshift throne, Dofi declares that his mother died when he was 8, and he killed his father when he was 10. That those who are ranked executives are his family, who he has been through thick and thin with. He says they're all he's got, and he won't forgive anyone who laughs at his family. Got that? The scene ends with a shot of Pica as the goons say, "Yes, sir." Now, what does all that tell us? It seems like a really odd turn for this scene to take, doesn't it? It begins as an exposition dump, becomes a comedy bit while setting up future action, but then transforms into a showcase of the bond between the main antagonists. The scene easily could have ended with Pica just smashing the goon who laughed at him to set up big, nasty, mean Pica as an upcoming opponent. That's the way most people would expect this scene to play out. Instead, Baby 5 essentially steals Pica's kill, which would have made more sense if the story felt it needed to show off Baby 5's abilities before she got into the action. But at this point, we are well aware of what she can do. From a technical perspective, the only reason that things take this turn is in order to hammer home something in the minds of the audience. Family, family, family. His family can bury him. Do you have a family? Don't laugh at my family, they're all I've got. The story painstakingly goes out of its way to make it clear to the audience that the big bad enemies of Dressrosa, the Don Quixote family, aren't just family in name. It's a bond they take seriously, not just for themselves, but for others as well. Family means everything to these people, and they will do anything to protect their own. Later on, we get the full Doflamingo flashback, and as part of that, we finally get to see how the family was formed, but I frankly found that portion to be utterly lacking. I thought it was as basic a backstory as we could have gotten, and the most interesting part of it was the dark reflection Dofi and Treble were of Law and Corazon. Not once in that flashback did we get the sense that Dofi cared about any of the people around him. He met them, he had Conqueror's hockey, a gaggle of creeps decided to worship him, and they blew stuff up around him. I don't even think young Dofi talks to anyone but Treble in that flashback. It felt like a real waste, and it certainly didn't deliver on showing the audience the establishment of their familial bond. One of the core rules of writing is show, don't tell. And if we look at these two scenes, you might intuitively assign Dofi's exposition dump as a tell, and the flashback as a show, but actually, it's reversed. In the exposition dump scene, we are certainly told Dofi's feelings, but we also see those feelings on display, and we are shown that they are shared by the rest of the family. The flashback, on the other hand, is a big fat mess of showing us pretty much nothing but uninteresting crimes, while being told this is all out of some familial bond. It just doesn't track. In fact, although I wanted to see the forming of the family flashback while I was watching this arc, Now that I know what we got, I wish we never saw any of it. This scene right here, family members standing up for each other, Dofi threatening those that would insult his family, that's all we needed. Of course, there's an irony in Doflamingo's point of view. He claims that the executives are all he has, but that comes right after his admission that he killed his father. Plus, later on we learn that he also killed his brother. But even in this scene, Doflamingo's hypocrisy is on display, which colors his true character. Dofi paints himself as some societal outcast, some down-on-his-luck individual who through good fortune managed to assemble a group of caring people around him. He casts himself in the light of an underdog, an unexpected success story. He is a butcher and a murderer. He committed patricide, fratricide, and is currently setting a society against itself. That one line, "I lost my mother when I was 8, I killed my father when I was 10, shows us the duality of Doflamingo. He cared about his mother. He misses her and mourns for her. He cares about his family. He killed his father. At the end of the day, the ties of family mean nothing to him. If you get in Dofi's way, he will destroy you." While the flashback with his biological family and what we saw of Law's time with the Don Quixote family was interesting and added to Dofi's character, I feel that everything you need to know about Doflamingo was fully on display in this scene. And that's my overanalysis of the Pica voice reveal scene. What did you think? Am I giving this scene too much credit? Or do you agree with me that it's actually one of the most important scenes in Dressrosa? Or do you have a completely different take? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks to those of you who encouraged me to make this video, and of course a special thank you to my radical patrons who are totally cool and know how to skateboard. Take care of yourselves, and until the next time, I'll shut up.